lift you up, I'm gonna lift you up, I wanna lift you up, I'm gonna lift you up, oh, whoa.
Hello and welcome to the Lift You Up show with Three Crows Shaman. We're up to episode 3 already. Oh wow, it's happening fast. The topic we're having this week is how do we stay on top of it? How do we stay in a positive vibration? How do we stay happy every single day? Hello, Kathy. Thank you for raising this, and the other ladies that asked, for my input on this, for my own experience. And the amazing thing that even though these ladies, and especially Kathy, has asked me about this, they've actually witnessed in my own life, myself, when things slowly get on top of me. And, for myself, going through a whole week of working out what I need to do next. But I wasn't in a depressive state, and that's the difference. So understanding with the choices that we can have and the stuff that we can do can make the changes, because if I had been in that same state 10 years or 20 years ago, I probably would have been sitting in it for 6 months and be carrying resentment against something or someone because it affected me. So even though we are learning and changing our emotions and how we're dealing with it, it's actually changing the outcomes of what you're actually going through. And it becomes easier, because if you can actually recognise, okay, yeah, I'm feeling a bit down today, but it's not as bad as what it was in other times of what used to happen to me. One of my biggest things that I do is I don't take crap to bed with me. I don't take the shit. Why would I take the shit to bed with me? I mean, if I've got a partner in bed with me, why would I want to take negative energy to bed with me? Why would I want to take a disagreement that we may have had because we couldn't agree at the time to bed with me? So the best way to deal with that is to have communication with your partner, whether it's being your partner, husband, wife, is communicate, get to that agreement that you don't see eye to eye on something, and let it be. Because you can raise that subject again the next day or the next day or the next day after that. Why do you need to take it to bed and then get up in the morning and you're still carrying animosity and resentment towards the other person? Well, you're doing that to yourself too, even if you're in bed by yourself. If you're taking pressures, worries and stresses to bed with you, you're going to wake up in the morning with it as well. So as simple as the electricity bills come in, and yeah, sure, you're $100 short on paying electricity bill, but if you take that to bed with you when you wake up in the morning, it's still the same pressure. Still the same pressure that you're putting yourself under. So why take it to bed? Just have the acceptance that you haven't got the money to pay the bill, and the bill won't get paid until you got the extra $100. Leave it alone. Why take it to bed? Okay, so when you get that concept of not taking negative energy and stresses and anxiety to bed with you, you're going to bed to rest. You're going to bed to sleep. And in that period of time that you're asleep, you wake up in the morning, you take your first breath of air in the morning, because you've opened your eyes. Now, the other thing I do is I make sure I'm all there. Okay, so, all right, is there any part of me while I was dreaming or going on a little vision of what I do, am I all back in my physical body? I don't want to be getting out of bed until I'm all there. Okay, so there's many practices we can do to stay on top, to stay happy, to have that smile on our face constantly. Okay, what a difference that can make in our lives. Now, the people that know me and are very close to me, they understand what I actually can go through at times. And it's pretty intense, but they've also witnessed how I handle it differently. And I acknowledge myself for how I handle it differently. Because if I continually to handle something the same way as I did before, and that didn't work and give me the outcome I wanted, well, it's lunacy and insanity if I continue to do it the same way. Now, many years ago, I had a property down in New South Wales, after a divorce and everything like that. Well, actually, 2 divorces and a house fire. And, I woke up one day, I was converting my shed into a 3-bedroom home, solar power, everything like that. But I woke up and I'm looking around myself, around outside, and it's like, I've just built a house in a shed, and I'm still living in the same place and the same stuff is going on. Why did I do that when my house burnt down and I had the perfect opportunity to move and create a new life, create a new beginning, and I didn't take that opportunity? So once I realised that, of course I took the opportunity. Now, from that, I was trying to help other people. It's like, all right, I'm going to give somebody an opportunity for themselves to step forward on their journey. So I offered my place, which was just, the shed on 1 acre in a little rural village, an opportunity that they could rent to buy. And it was a very simple concept. Pay your rent every week, and after 12 months, I'll contribute that rent as a deposit paid for the property on an agreed property price of what I wanted at that time. And I did find someone to go in there. But they didn't change. They didn't change themselves of the behaviour. And pretty soon, they weren't paying the rent. They broke the agreement. And when I finally looked at how I was going to deal with this, now, the old me would have handled it one particular way, but with my growth and my learnings, I wanted to handle this differently, so I did do it differently. And when I finally hopped in my four-wheel drive to drive down to the property and I sent a message, I was on my way down, I then got a message back, we would have gone by the time you get here. All right, so I was accepting, right, I'm not going to recoup the money, okay, everything they owed me, but they broke their opportunity. They had an opportunity to end up in their own place, to have an opportunity to purchase a house with me backing them with the bank. But they weren't prepared to change their own behaviours. They weren't prepared to change for an opportunity. They couldn't understand it. Now, when I got there, wow, the place was a mess because it was off-grid. It had a battery bank. They had overdrawn on the batteries. The batteries were very ill, I thought I was going to be up for $15,000 to replace the batteries. That's a different story again because of positive outlook. The batteries actually did heal themselves. It just took a bit of time. The other thing was I had a mouse plague because they had rubbish everywhere. They had rubbish in the house, so it was an absolute mess. Now, I cleaned that place up. Now what am I going to do with it? Because I tried to give people an opportunity. Didn't happen. And at that time, I thought the batteries were still stuffed, so I actually put the price up. And I went to a friend who was a real estate agent, and I said, this is the price I need. This is the price I need. I don't care what you make on top of this. If you make $20,000 or $30,000 or $50,000 on top of what I need to get out of this place, it's yours. Right? It's yours. And within 1 week, he had me a cash buyer for my place. I got what I wanted, and I got more than what I originally wanted, and it was a quick transition. And it was because I did it differently. I chose that I needed to do things differently because the way I had done it before never worked. It created negative energy. Now, so many people, when in that circumstance, the first thing they want to do is go down and start bashing heads together. I gave you an opportunity. Well, that wasn't going to work. It was just going to create negative energy. Hence, don't take negative energy to bed with you because it's going to create negative energy over the night. You're going to get up and you're going to be all nasty and you're going to be sad. You're going to be depressed. And it doesn't work. It doesn't work. So to be able to be balanced and to stay on top of stuff is to have that way of thinking that you've got to continually do things differently. Now, at this same time, here I am. I've been divorced from the mother of my children for many, 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 many years. But it was only a few years ago that the feud actually started to do with my children. I have 3 sons. And now, because I've actually, I went to the Federal Family Law Court because I wanted to do things differently, because the way it was being handled, where we just had an agreement and she had the opportunity to at willy-nilly go, well, no, you can't have your son this fortnight, or no, you can't have your son, that I wanted it in black and white with the stamp, have the orders that she's got to uphold to it. Well, that created nastiness in itself, because all of a sudden I've put a challenge to her that she's got to go to court. Now, I'm still handling things differently. So many people, you can see that when they're dealing with certain emotional stuff, that it gets them down. It gets them to the breaking point. Some will actually end up in a place where they can't come back from. I don't know if you remember the gentleman many years ago that the Family Law Court ruled against about him having contact with his children, and all of a sudden he's a tipper driver and he drove his truck across over the I don't think it could have been the Harbour Bridge, it might have been another bridge, but then he lifted his load and dumped all the dirt on the road. He wishes now he had to handle things differently, okay? But people get pushed to the breaking point. Now, you've got to understand, if you're getting pushed to the breaking point, you've got to get an understanding, and you've got to do things differently. Doing things differently gives you a different outcome. So you're learning what's working for you and what's not working for you. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? So let's put this in an aspect just for your health. Okay, so if you're feeling lethargic, you need to investigate. Is it what you're eating? Okay, change that. Does it make an improvement? If it's not what you're eating, is it what you're doing? Is it because you're sitting at home and you're binge watching Netflix? So therefore your body's not moving anyway. So you're becoming a bit of a couch potato. So you need to do things differently. So maybe watch a show and go outside for a walk and come back. Does that make a change? But if you're not prepared to make a change and you're not prepared to do things differently, nothing's going to change for you. Okay, nothing's going to change. So we've got to look at making the changes to get a different outcome, to stay on top of stuff. All right? Some people are naturally blessed, and nothing happens to make them feel sad or anything like that. All right? It's like they're born with a silver spoon in their mouth, and we're not just talking money. We're just talking about nothing seems to bother them. How beautiful they are. They're a naturally spiritual person. It's a great way to be. All right? So, but whatever's happening in your life, look at how to change it differently. So even with my teachings and the courses and the workshops that I run, there's stuff that still goes on, but you've got to learn to look at it differently. You've got to learn how to change it differently. You've got to learn to be a boundary for yourself and staying in your true power, but yet not play a game with the other person. Because if you start playing a game with the other person, well, they're going to start playing a game too. So if you can imagine like a chess game, all right, that you're playing to be a few moves ahead. If you do this, I'm going to do this, and if you do that, I'm going to do it this way. Well, they're doing the same thing, okay? So if you stop playing the game and you just have your boundary, you're doing things differently, the other person can play all they want, but they're playing one-sided, all right? There's no one else challenging them or taking pieces off the board for them. So the game loses momentum. It loses momentum. So do things differently, okay? What else can we talk about in relation to this, of how to stay happier? Because at the same time, we also have people that will judge you. Okay? So here I am, I'm a shaman. But I'm a shaman that drinks, because I can drink. Okay? I can drink wine. I can drink beer. I can drink bourbon. Okay? I can have a drink, but it doesn't change my personality. It doesn't change who I am. It makes me happy. Okay? It makes me happy. It doesn't make me depressed. All right? It makes me happy, and I enjoy the warmth. But I also use my own spirit to make sure I don't take on any detrimental effects. Okay? Now, here I was a few years ago, and I actually forgot. To ask my spirit to help me to make sure I didn't take on any detrimental effects. And here I was going to bed midnight. I was at a festival, and I was out drinking with a great friend of mine, and he paid the price. But I was paying the price when I first went to bed. And all of a sudden, my rooftop tent was spinning. Now, rooftop tent's attached to the vehicle. So if you can imagine the whole vehicle and the rooftop tent was spinning around and around. And it's like, I can't sleep like this and I need my sleep. So I was able to gather all that, blow it off. But when I woke up in the morning, and I wake up 4 o'clock in the morning at that particular time, but I woke up at 4:30 and I had a splitting headache. Now I wanted to get up and do my Qigong, get the flow going, and my head was hurting. And again, I gathered it up, blew it all off, and I was able to do my Qigong, and I was happy. When I finally got my friend out of bed, you couldn't believe I was so happy, and I was so full of energy. I cooked him breakfast, I did all of that, but here we were at a festival, and a couple of hours later, he was having a hair of the dog, and I was back into it with him, but I didn't forget to use my spirit to make sure I was protected this next round of party and fun. All right, now, people judge me for that. That's not my problem. That's their problem. All right, that's their problem. If a person's going to judge you on that, you can imagine they don't do anything differently. So if you actually observe that person, right, their belief system and everything is staying exactly the same, right? It's not changing because they're being judgmental. All right, they're being judgmental, and being judgmental means they're not able to do anything differently. Okay? Do you understand that concept? And a classic example, it hasn't happened once, it's happened a couple of times, that I have been judged against by other people because I can have a drink and I can handle it and I'm happy, my personality doesn't change, but they have a drink and they've got no control over it. So the first thing they do is blame someone else that it's their fault. So if you can imagine that here they are, they start off and they might be having a romantic dinner with a prospective girlfriend or with their partner, and one bottle of wine turns to 2 bottles of wines. In the morning they're going to blame the partner. Have you experienced that? That you're getting blamed for something, but they won't take responsibility for their own actions. So this is how we stay above everyone, because we do take responsibility for our own actions and we make the changes to make the different outcome. How simple is that? It's very, very simple. Accept everything you do. Look at what you do. Make the changes if you're not happy with it. Get the different outcome. Okay, so now let's look at the smoking. Okay, I'm a shaman. Now, I took up smoking again after not smoking for quite a while, and I took it up again, and it was a hard decision that I had to make to take it back up. But I smoke for my own reasons. Not only do I at times use it for smudging so I can disguise myself so I can't be seen, but it's one of my comforts that I use for my own space and my own time. So if I'm at a workshop, when I leave the workshop during morning tea or lunch and I'm outside, I'm having my smoke, and I ask people to leave me alone. And many people want to come and ask me questions during morning tea and lunchtime or after the workshop on that day. But while I have my smoke, this is my time. This is my 7 minutes of peace. The other reason I took up smoking was because I didn't want judgmental people near me. So at the time, being single and having women say to me, do you know, if you didn't smoke, you and I could, see where this went. Well, I don't want to be with someone that's going to put restrictions on me for themselves. When I quit smoking, I quit smoking for me, not for you. When I choose not to have a drink, I choose not to have a drink for me, not for you. So when I choose to do something differently to get a different outcome for myself, I'm not doing it for them, I'm doing it for me. So do the stuff that you need to do for you and not for someone else. So if you're feeling depressed or sad because of what someone else is doing, you're letting that affect you. Now at the same time, if we look at when someone's judging you and someone's trying to harm you and it's not affecting you, they'll either step it up more or they just give up. Okay, there's two ways that it will go. You've got to work that out for yourself of how to deal with that. Now, I'm not saying you're going to stop this altogether, but you have to acknowledge what does happen for you, how it does make your life better, because you're getting a better understanding, you're observing it more, is compare it to how it was before and look at the comparison. And if it's changed a little bit, that's a good change. If it's changed a lot, that's an even better change. But you're the only one that's going to be able to compare the two, okay? So you're still going into that sadness or whatever and you're not happy every day. Identify what it is, what's happening, what's doing this to you, what's causing this, what's giving you the trigger to be sitting in that despair. You have to work that out. You have to investigate it. So doing that will assist you. The other thing is to keep breathing. And I don't know if you ever seen the people that they talk 100 miles an hour and they're not breathing. And as they're talking 100 miles an hour, it's not making sense, because not only that, you can't keep up with them, but they're jumping from one topic to the other. And if you look at the simplicity of that, is they're not getting the oxygen to the brain because they're not taking the time to breathe. You must breathe, because with that breath comes in, the oxygen's absorbed through your lungs, goes into your blood, travels up to the brain, gives your brain blood and oxygen. It's an imperative part of our life to live and to stay functional. So you've got to remember to breathe. Okay, so when you are feeling in despair or sad, or you're getting into that resentment or anger, don't forget to breathe. Now, the other way I teach that is, as you're breathing in, count 1, 2, 3. Hold your breath, count to 3. Exhale on the count of 3. Do it with me. So counting in your head, breathe in, hold it, breathe out. So as you're breathing, you can't think about anything else. So you're settling yourself, you're breathing, you're bringing oxygen into your body. And the thoughts that you had before have to stop while you're counting. There's nothing wrong with you being able to sit there for 1 minute and doing that. There's nothing wrong with you spending 10 minutes in doing that. That's 10 minutes of peace. 10 minutes of calming the body, 5 minutes of calming the body, 1 minute of calming the body. Whatever it is, you're calming the body, you're calming your thoughts. It's another way to get back on top, so you're having a different outcome. Okay, there's many, many tools out there, and there's so many people out there that can teach you ways to bring yourself back to calm, so you can do things differently, so you can stay on top of it and you can be brighter every day. I'm a general happy person. I'm very, very generally happy, and the people closest to me know that. Okay, now at the same time, there's still stuff that goes on in my life. Here I am, I've got the Inspiration Healing Centre, I've got children, I'm a single dad, I'm looking after my uncle and auntie. My auntie just beat cancer finally, she lost an eye and everything like that. I've got a lot of responsibility, people that depend on me. Okay, I don't let that get me down. And surely there's always something going on in my life, but I'm doing things differently. And I try not to do things the same way as I did it before, because I always want a better outcome. I always want to achieve that better outcome. So I'm not always doing things differently. So, sorry, I'm not always doing things the same. I'm doing it differently. And my intent is to do it differently to get a better outcome. I'm not doing things to cause intentional harm to make my life worse. Now, one of the other things that happen is how people will attack you, and they will attack you in a way with lies and deceit of how that makes you feel. To have someone pointing the finger at you, you did this to me. How that makes you feel, because you're looking at it a different way, because you've got a different perspective. Now, if you had hurt this person intentionally, are you going to have remorse and you're going to apologise? But if this person's attacking you because it's the way they felt, because it's their trigger, and all of a sudden the lies and deceit come out, how do you want to feel about that? How do I feel? I always feel like the truth is always going to come out. The truth is always going to come out, and I'm very fortunate that it does. Now, the other thing that I deal with is karma. All right? Now, a lot of you have got different opinions on karma. However, under what I teach is what you do unto another shall happen upon to you. So you must be careful. So if you're going to have negative energy back towards someone, it's going to come back upon you. And then we can enhance that, because I don't want your negative energy. That's yours. You deal with it. Okay? So there's another whole show on that, but we won't get into that. Stay positive, people. Stay on top of it. Be happy. Don't worry. Be happy. There's so much you can do to improve your quality of life. There is so much, but are you willing to make a change, to do something differently, to get that different outcome? Are you prepared to do it? All right, let's take a short break. This is one of my sponsors.
Find out what's behind the world's #1 whole food pulse snack brand, the Happy Snack Company. People today have caught on to the health benefits of eating real food snacks. The Happy Snack Company is passionate about healthier snacking and built on a belief that tasty snacks can also be good for you. Giving people a better way to snack inspires us every day to create contemporary, interesting flavours. Try our range of roasted chickpeas or fava beans, because there's nothing boring about these. So overhaul your snack stash and give Happy Snacks a try. And find out what's behind the world's #1 whole food pulse snack brand, the Happy Snack Company.
So that's the Happy Snack Food Company. They're based here on the Sunshine Coast. You can find them in all the major supermarkets, Coles and Woolworths, in the health food aisles. So give it a go. Some lovely stuff there. So back to it. Staying on top of it, staying happy, staying healthy, doing things differently to get a different outcome. One thing that happened to me quite a few years ago is my second wife. Even though the marriage didn't actually last long, I love her. I love her for who she is. I love the experiences I got, and I have a lot of great memories there, and I had a lot of growth. I had an amazing growth from her. Now, I still accept I'm not going to allow her back into my life without her making changes, because me allowing her back into my life is going to affect my life, and I chose for my life not to be affected because I needed a different outcome. All right? So as I'm learning, I have to make those choices which are beneficial for myself. All right? The choices which are going to keep me happy. And I'm not going to compromise that. I'm not going to compromise that. Now, I've had many, many opportunities over these years to get into a relationship. But when I recognise that, hang on, I know where this goes, that the same outcome is going to happen because the same things are happening. And if I'm making the changes so it doesn't happen again, but they're not making the changes, it's still going to end up with the same outcome. And it comes from experience to be able to identify that. So we're talking about my second ex-wife. Knew her for 30 years, absolutely adored her. I had a crush on her in high school. And, we've had over the years, all of a sudden, finding her in an outback Queensland town. Here she was, as a barmaid, and I was flying up there for a job. And again, I felt all the love that I had for her and everything like that. It was deep. And when she came into my life, the fireworks, they were flying, but in the end, the relationship was just toxic. It was just toxic. And it was toxic because at the same time, with what was happening with her, many things I was doing the same. All right, so if I was doing the same stuff and I already knew what the outcome was, well, obviously, it was very hard to do things, to resolve things. So even though the make-up sex was great, no denying that, but I didn't like getting to the point where I ended up having to have make-up sex because nothing ever got resolved. All right, we didn't get the solution. All right, the solution is important. So I started to do things differently. I started to see things differently, so I started making the changes. And then I was able to go, I can't do this anymore. I just can't do it anymore. And I've been very fortunate to have a lot of growth from that, and also been able to see now, I can see this same scenario happening with this friendship, and I don't want it to go that way. So be able to communicate with the person going, this isn't going to work. All right, this isn't going to work. So I want to step away now as friends. And then, you have people come back into your life because they've had their growth, they've had their journey, and they're now doing things differently. So it's a beautiful friendship that can evolve again. Okay? Do things differently, you get a different outcome. Wake up in the morning without having taken the worries and the stresses to bed and the resentment and the anger to bed. Well, when you wake up in the morning, it's not there. Now, that can be difficult in itself of trying to shift that way of thinking, okay, of that stress. But there are options that you can use. So if I find myself still thinking of something when I go to bed, I might put some sleep music on, all right, some very simple music, maybe even some meditation stuff, but I'm very careful of the meditation I choose because I don't want other people influence me with their own guided meditation because it's not necessarily suited to me because of what I do, all right? So it's, pardon me, it's each to their own of what they do and what works for them. The other thing I do is I connect with my spirit every night, and I connect with spirit elements, and I do my little bit of shaman work, and most of the time after I'm doing that shaman work or while I'm doing it, I will fall asleep. It's great. It's absolutely great. Now, when the intense times are come and we're looking at the cycles of the moon and the planetary movements, there are intense times that come up. But to be aware that it's associated with an intense time is now you are actually making a difference because you're choosing to do things differently because you're aware of what it's associated with. A lot of times I have clients or colleagues ringing me up going, this is going on. And because I'm aware of what's happening on a collective scale, I'm able to pull them up. And sometimes I'm very forceful and go, oh, whoa, fuck up. Because this isn't about you. This isn't just happening to you. This is happening to all your friends, all your colleagues, everyone in the group. And if you got out of your self-absorbed thinking it's all about you and listen to the other people's story and answer your phone calls, you'll understand everyone's feeling the same way at the moment in one way or another. All right? So get out of this personal thing that it's all about you. Because majority of the time, it's not all about you, that people are feeling the pressures, the stress, the anxieties, just as you are. Now, if we look at that, it's even intensified in the past 18 months. It's amazing that nearly every podcast has always got to come back to the past 18 months, the past 20 months, the past 2 years, because the intensity, the stresses, the anxieties has increased. My business has increased because of this. Now, I stepped away from my work for a couple of years and all of a sudden here I am. I had to step up and to assist people again. And I'm glad I have because my life has gone to another level, another tier, and I love it. I want to share that with you. I want to teach you the ways what works for me. And if it doesn't work for you, that's good. But if you get a little piece of a key of what I do to keep me happy, for me to keep on top of it, the way I can stay balanced and, even when stuff is going on, of how I choose to stay balanced or choose to have that little bit of reclusion to myself so I can work it out. But at the same time, even I've gone into reclusion, and I'm trying to identify what actually is happening with me, is I'll get some clarity by talking to my closest friends or my closest colleagues and get them to confirm something either way for me. And with that, I've got some clarity and I'm able to blossom out of that as quickly as possible. Again, I compare this to my past. I compare this to what I used to do. I compare this to how I know I have felt. There's a big difference when you're able to do that for yourself and not have somebody projected on you. All right? That's the other thing you don't want done, is people projecting onto you. Because if you take on that projection, all of a sudden you've got the energy from a person projecting onto you and you taking it on board, which is giving it energy, and all of a sudden you've got that. It becomes complicated, and it becomes an energy in itself which has got an onus to the person projected onto you and an onus to you. All right, so you got two people responsible for it. What are you going to do with that? Okay, so we don't want people projecting onto you how you should act, how you should behave. We want you to understand how you felt about it, what you want to do about it, and how you want to do it differently to get the different outcome. Now, we all understand, you've all heard that it takes less to smile than what it does to frown. So, what are you going to do about it? Okay, what are you going to do about it? It takes less to be happy than what it does to be stressed. It makes no sense to be stressed and to carry the stress and to feel that everyone owes you, to feel like everyone's rejected you, that everyone has turned against you. That doesn't help you to have those thoughts, because at the end of the day, it all comes to you. What did you do for people to reject you? Are you prepared to look at that? So you feel unwanted, you feel rejected. What did you do for them to not want you in their life and to reject you? So you've got to do things differently. You've got to look at that. Okay, so you're not getting a promotion at work. Why aren't you getting the promotion at work? Is that person more qualified than you? Possibly could, but why aren't you improving your qualifications? Yes. There's many reasons why you don't get the promotion at work, but are you prepared to look at it? Are you prepared to make the change, to do things differently, to get the outcome differently? There are many opportunities out there in this world. What are you going to do about it? Are you going to make the change? What else can we do so you feel happier, you feel brighter, you're on top of it? Many of you face the dramas of family, the dramas of with what's going on, the people that are suicidal, have mental health issues going on at the moment. Are you going to let that affect you from being happy? Or are you going to stay happy so you're having that positive vibration for other people to see, how come nothing bothers you? Well, it does. I'm just doing it differently because I want a different outcome for my life. There's so much going on in this world at the moment and it's intense. Walk down the street, be happy. Sometimes I turn my little switch off so I can't be seen, so I can walk in a supermarket and nobody wants to bother me. And other times I'll switch it on and people come up and say, oh, can you grab that off the shelf for me? It's my choice. And I do it depending on what I want to be doing that day. Because there's nothing wrong with being a recluse, so you can actually work on yourself. But if you're going to be a recluse to be a hermit because everyone's hurt you, well, fuck up. all right? Because if you're being a hermit because everyone's hurt you, you're not prepared to look at yourself, you're not prepared to do things differently because you don't want change and you don't want a different outcome. Okay? There was another saying that, everybody shits on me. Well, whatever negative aspect you're carrying and you keep forwarding onto other people, well, as soon as they do something wrong by your standards, first thing you're going to say is, you shitted on me too. You're no different to the rest of them. How's that working out for you? Seriously? Do things differently. Get a different outcome. Be happy every single day. There is so much you can do. You can breathe. Change your thoughts. Give yourself some peace. Be gentle to yourself. Do things differently. There are so many applications to put this to make your life different. To give yourself space. People are going to notice the changes. You're the one that needs to see the changes, to feel the changes on the inside. And compare that to who you used to be. And if you've become a better person, you're definitely not going to go back to the old ways because you're going to do it differently. Now, the other thing is having that companion in our life, having someone that understands you and accepts you for who you are. Now, many years ago, I started manifesting for myself. Now, manifesting is another whole different subject, but I've worked out the clarity on that for myself. And I teach the refined and defined version of what I worked out because manifestation is very powerful. But my main concern for myself was I want someone that I can respect because they respect me. I want someone to honour because they honour me. And I want someone I can love because they love me. I want someone that will accept my past and I can accept theirs. I want someone that accepts me for who I am and I accept them for who I am, and that will accept me for who I'm going to become, and that I can do the same for them because people grow. Just to have someone in your life doesn't mean they're going to stay the same person. If they do stay the same person and don't change, there's not much exciting happening in your life, is there? So look at that for yourself. If you're going to stay the same person, the same shit's going to happen. So make the changes, make the choices, move forward, do things differently, get different outcomes. Makes you happier. Life becomes better. Now, if you do make the wrong choice, you get to see the lesson in it for yourself. But there's no reason to go in despair and sorrow and sadness or depression or go into the fetal position. When I'm dealing with clients and they've got a lot of back pains and stuff like that, we look at what poses are they doing when they're in desperation. And we usually find that they're curling up in the fetal position in bed. They've actually found autistic children where, as they're growing up, they're always constantly in the fetal position. All right? There's many things associated with it, and I'm not saying that that's the one cause, but there's multiple layers. So there's always multiple layers to why you're feeling sad. Are you prepared to do the investigation? There's always multiple layers to why you feel despair. Are you prepared to do the investigation and find those multiple layers? Somebody's making a judgment against you and you're feeling upset. Not only is it about the person making judgment against you, we don't want to be looking at that solely. We want to be looking at why you're feeling that, why you're being triggered. So looking at those sort of layers and clearing them because you want the change, because you're making the choice to change. You're making the choice to do things differently to get a different outcome. So we're looking at investigation for yourself. Everything coming back within yourself. Why you feel like that. We don't care about what's happening external to you because that was the trigger to why it started for you. But what do you want to do about it? What do you want to do about it? There is so much. I'm just going to take a short break and I'll be back with you shortly.